News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's now 4:05 on this Monday afternoon as we're about to begin KVNU's For the People show. And I'm Will Feely with our top local stories. Well, a missing Utah man found dead yesterday afternoon in the mountains around the Willow Flat area east of Preston. Now, that's according to the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Emergency responders say they located the man's body following a multi-agency search that began Saturday. Now, family members initially had reported the man missing after discovering his vehicle parked in the Willow Flat area, a popular campground that's located about 10 miles east of Preston. The Franklin County Sheriff's deputies and search and rescue personnel initiated the search on Saturday. Search dogs and emergency responders from Cache Valley joined the effort. Now, Cache County Sheriff's Lieutenant Michael Sean Barshey said that search and rescue teams spent about 12 hours searching the area, and crews discovered the body late yesterday afternoon. Now, authorities have turned the body over to the Franklin County Coroner's Office for further investigation. Officials stated that no foul play is suspected in the man's death. Now, the identity of the deceased has not yet been released, pending notification of family. Meanwhile, a hiker who was reported missing in southeastern Utah was found dead following a search that had spanned more than a week, according to authorities. Now, the San Juan County Sheriff's Office confirmed the discovery of David Engler's body in a remote area. Now, Engler had been reported overdue by family members, prompting a large-scale search effort. Now, the cause of death remains under investigation. Engler's remains were transported to the Utah Medical Examiner's Office for an autopsy and to determine the circumstances of his passing. Now, the Sheriff's Office expressed gratitude to search and rescue teams and also extended their condolences to David Engler's family and friends during this difficult time. And finally, the Rich County Sheriff's Office issued a firm statement on Friday pushing back against public rumors of investigative apathy while reaffirming its commitment to locating a missing Garden City teenager. Now, Kylie Arellano was last seen at her home on May 29, 2025, and remains the subject of an active investigation involving local, state, and federal agencies. Now, Sheriff Dale Stacey emphasized that deputies are pursuing all leads, and he dismissed claims that the department has lost interest. Now, Arellano is described as being 5 feet 6 inches tall, 115 pounds, with brown eyes and chin-length brown hair. Now, she has black dental braces and several tattoos. Now, while officials have not confirmed foul play, the involvement of federal resources is suggesting an intensified search effort. Now, the department noted that it must balance the investigation with the constitutional rights of those involved. The office stated that deputies remain dedicated, though, to bringing her home safely. Well, your weather forecast through the rest of the afternoon. Some clouds continuing, but it doesn't look like we're going to see much in the form of any more rain, as temperatures have been in the low 50s today. Tonight, we're going to drop into the mid-30s over the evening, and we'll see temperatures tomorrow back into the low 50s. And it looks like we're going to continue to see this pattern over the next several days with a small chance of some moisture here and there all the way through Thursday, then clearing up by Friday and Saturday. And weather this hour is brought to you by Bell Sculpt. They'll help you get rid of fat for good and sculpt areas like your abs, arms, and thighs. It's Bell Sculpt. Give their bountiful office a call at 801-335-5388 or go online to bellsculpt.fm. And KVNU News Time is now 4:08, and coming up is KVNU's For the People show with Jason Williams next.
Do you have a nasty weed problem? We have the right person for you. Sir, you work for Logan Extermination, don't you? Can you help these folks get rid of pesky dandelions?
Of course I can help. I am the Terminator. I will terminate those little yellow devils in your yard. Call me at Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Spring special. Terminate your weeds and green up your yard for only $40, based on maximum 5,000 square foot or less.
Keeping you informed 24/7. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. When it comes to home care, it's important for you to know you do have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of home care services, remember Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient, not the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Call for a free home safety evaluation, 787-1369, and visit primrosecare.com. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com, and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Monday, April 27th. I'm Jason Williams. 49 degrees here at the Radio Ranch at 4:11 in the afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We have a lot to get to today. Obviously, reactions and results from the two major parties hosting their annual conventions. This was a nominating convention, of course, headed into an election year for both Utah Democrats and Utah Republicans. The results, not surprising. Well, there was one thing that kind of surprised me about the results. We'll talk about that in a bit. Speaking of elections, concerns, and a bit of controversy on campus as Utah State University students partook in their election for student leadership, some are crying foul, saying that, questioning the student body that voted, with some students claiming that students who were not on campus were able to vote in the student body president election and others, and saying this is unfair, saying concurrent enrollment students should not be allowed to participate. Why this actually matters, we'll talk about it in a bit here. Also, as we mentioned last week on the show, Utah Department of Workforce Services rolling out a new tool for parents as the school year ends. And for many families, that means the search for daytime childcare begins. For those who, for example, a family where both parents need to work to make ends meet, that can be expensive. Bills upwards of $300 to $500 a week. And oftentimes in some parts of Utah that are considered childcare deserts, more than 40-minute drive for childcare each way. So it's a problem. Utah Department of Workforce Services, though they have not received any money from the legislature to do anything more than this, they've decided for parents to pool resources and build a bit of an online clearinghouse for families out there in search of childcare, hoping to connect you with options that exist in your neighborhood, and also for those who qualify, aid where appropriate. So we'll talk about that with a special guest joining us in the second hour of today's show. So the big conventions over the weekends. Again, not many surprises. I think things, for the most part, played out in the Republican convention as predicted. Same can't be said for the Democratic congressional race in Salt Lake, which had a result that I don't think really anyone, including the candidate who was victorious in the nominating vote from delegates, expected. So we'll talk about that. First up, what happened at the Utah GOP convention? For those who didn't attend and haven't followed the news. And finally, Box Elder County this morning, some fireworks there. More than 80 residents this morning showed up in a commission meeting to protest what residents are calling a lack of transparency in fast-tracking a hyperscale data center. out in the western area of Box Elder County. And protesters on hand, residents showing up with signs reading, do you even care about us? We can't afford this. Where's the water going to come from? No data center, no taxes, meaning, people were saying if you're going to do this with our tax money, we're going to stop paying taxes. So all around, it's been a pretty big Monday already. For here in the Congressional District 2, the northern part of the state, the results we care about the most from the Utah GOP convention, of course, is delegates voted for Carrie Ann Lisenby as the Republican candidate for Congressional District 1 over incumbent Representative Blake Moore. Now, of course, both are going to be on the ballot anyway, having collected signatures to run for office. Moore will have a chance to appeal to a wider set of voters, all Republicans still. Of course, the Utah GOP convention is about 3,000 delegates, I believe, were credentialed on Saturday. And in this race, about 800 voted. And that is a small number of people compared to the number of registered Republicans in District 1, of course. And then, of course, Utah GOP delegates tend to lean a bit more far right than where the rank and file Republicans are. So read all the tea leaves you want out of this, get your crystal ball out, but that's where things stand as far as the Utah GOP convention over the weekend. Delegates preferred Lisenby to Moore, and now no offense to delegates in the convention system, but the caucus system is real. I don't want to see this go away. But understandably, a lot of people are kind of these days rolling their eyes at the whole process when, in 2024, delegates preferred Phil Lyman to Governor Cox. Obviously, based on the results of the primary election, not where the majority of Republicans in the state are. And it's hard for even party leaders, county and state, to continue defending this system with results like this. And with the dual routes to the ballot now, where candidates can collect signatures and just run in a primary where every registered Republican gets a chance to weigh in, as opposed to several hundred delegates. You don't have to be a political scientist to see where this is all going. Delegates need to stop and think about this. If you want the caucus system to stick around, you've got it. This is supposed to be a representative system. If delegates are when you go to caucus night and you become a delegate, the pledge you're making is to represent your neighbors. But if you go to convention and vote in such a way that doesn't match your neighbors based on the convention results versus the primary election results, the whole system starts to fall down a little bit and lose credibility. So I'm not saying this happened this go-round. I'm saying that the caucus system hasn't seen its reputation repaired yet from the 2024 cycle where delegates wanted Phil Lyman to be governor, and obviously registered Republicans and the rest of the registered Republicans in the state strongly disagreed. So it is what it is, but the results again, delegates preferred State Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby by a wide margin to Congressman Blake Moore, and the two will now enter into a primary that will play out until primary day. Election day will be late June, and we'll have a chance to talk to both candidates here on the show, hopefully a couple of times over throughout that process. Also, we'll get an update soon from Cache County Clerk Bryson Bem on the timeline of this, because, of course, there are going to be, for a primary, just like the general election, there are going to be registration deadlines. There are going to be deadlines for request or getting a ballot and returning a ballot. And then the state has also made some changes that do affect primaries as well to how and when your ballot can be returned. So we'll refresh everyone on that. But it's just one day after the convention. Give us some time here. So, All right, there's your convention results for the Republicans. This is not one that anyone here in northern Utah is going to get a chance to vote in, but it was kind of surprising, and it sets up an interesting thing in that everybody's watching the Democrats, which that doesn't happen in Utah often, right? For understandable reasons. Democrats generally don't win elections here in Utah. But at the convention, at the state convention, delegates who could voted in a nomination contest. Same thing I said about the Republican caucus system applies to the Democratic Party's caucus system as well. The voters or the delegates tend to be not where the rank and file are always, sometimes, but not always. So, again, with Republican delegates leaning a lot further right than where, based on election results at least, the rank and file registered Republican voter bloc is, the same thing applies with Democrats, just in the reverse direction on the spectrum. So delegates who I would guess with confidence are more left-leaning than where average registered Democrats in this new congressional district are, voted on Saturday, and what they came up with. So in this race, for those who haven't followed it, it's a pretty packed race, and which shouldn't be a surprise. This is the first time in almost a generation, since the early 90s, that Democrats have had a situation where they're just solidly in control of a certain area of the state and can kind of flex and be themselves. And so you had a lot of candidates lining up for this race. You have former state senator and former congressional representative from Utah, for 2 cycles represented Utah's 4th congressional district, U.S. Representative Ben McAdams, running for a second stab at it, a very different district than he previously represented, and that's proving to be a little tough for him. He's more of a moderate, middle-of-the-road, what you might call a blue dog Democrat, and this is an extremely left-leaning district that he's running in. For those familiar with what's called the PVI, this is a partisan voter index that is done based on election results over decades for congressional districts all around the country. This is a D plus 20, which is about as solidly Democrat as you can get. And so McAdams is kind of defending himself a little bit against some more right-leaning votes he placed as a representative when serving as a representative of District 4 here in Utah before losing that seat to Mia Love. He also was joined in the race by a big number of others. Some of them are gone now. Eva Lopez Chavez, who did not do well on Saturday, understandably, because last week scandal erupted around her campaign. Actual allegations against Chavez of sexual harassment and improprieties at public events with other elected officials. Also joined in the race with Ben McAdams was State Senator Nate Bluen. Bluen's a firebrand on social media. He's got a lot of attention that way. He's been endorsed by Bernie Sanders and Representative Pranjal and have a handful of others. Basically, the AOC wing of the Democratic Party at the federal level. A lot of them have endorsed Bluen. His campaign got hit a couple of weeks ago with a bit of a scandal that he accused Ben McAdams of being behind, which was someone went back and found some 15-year-old Reddit posts that he'd made in which he had said some pretty bigoted things towards members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, made some crass jokes, even sexist jokes. And Bluen, in a statement, said, "This was 15 years ago. I'm ashamed of it. Reading these again, I'm actually appalled that I ever thought any of this was funny. But it was 15 years ago, and I'm focused on my campaign." And finally, these three were joined by another progressive named Michael Farrell, who I know not a single thing about. And again, no one here listening is going to get to vote in this, so I won't go into it. Anyway, At the convention on Saturday, I think everyone, including myself, expected this was probably going to come down really to a battle between Nate Bluen and Ben McAdams. And what happened instead is Chavez, understandably, was eliminated almost immediately. Next round, they used a ranked choice voting system. Next round of voting, Farrell was eliminated, so it was basically down to Nate Bluen, state senator, former U.S. Rep Ben McAdams, and a newcomer to politics named Liban Mohammed. He is the son of Somali immigrants, and he was actually born here in Logan, Utah. He's 27 years old, I believe. So he was born here in Logan, Utah, went to school at Utah State University, and has worked in the tech field for a long time for a couple of big tech companies. And he's been campaigning in this race kind of quietly. Obviously, one that was not considered one of the front runners at Saturday's convention. He walked away with it. Utah Democratic delegates in Salt Lake City handed him a win over both former Representative Ben McAdams and Bernie Sanders endorsed State Senator Nate Bluen by about 20 points. So he was the clear winner and is the convention nominee. Now, similar to the District 1 race here between Blake Moore and Carrie Ann Lisenby, everyone collected signatures and will be on the ballot in this race anyway. And so the four of them, minus only Lopez Chavez, will head off into a primary. So this isn't done. But, yeah, kind of a surprise there. I don't think anyone saw this coming. This guy is a relatively unheard of before individual, coming from with a tech background. So he's obviously got a decent amount of his own money to fund his campaign. But he hadn't spent a lot in this race. So I don't know really what was behind this. Some of the reaction online from people who were there said that they believe a lot of this was Utah's Somali community coming out for him in support, kind of pushing back on some of the racism they see at the federal level. And unfortunately, speaking of racism, his nomination did attract some. In fact, one University of Utah College Republican under fire today, a young man named Riley, I forget, tweeted out some pretty appalling stuff, honestly, that wrapped up his comments saying, "Do you even recognize this Utah?" and a photo of a bunch of black people at the convention in Salt Lake. Not a great look for the University of Utah College Republicans, to say the least. And then a former BYU player as well saying, if this guy wins, I'm going to run. And people piling on him, saying, what is it you oppose here? And unfortunately, he elaborated. So, politics brings out the weird, to say the least. But for the first time in quite some time, things are getting exciting in Utah involving Democrats. That doesn't happen very often. So here in District 1, again, we'll have the primary between Congressman Blake Moore and State Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby playing out until the end of June. In Salt Lake, this primary will play out until the end of June. Outside of that, really things played out about how you would expect in most of this nomination for both parties. So I've linked to the full results. If you're following any other races in any other parts of the state, you're welcome to click the link on our Facebook page, and we'll be back with more of KVN News for the People. Talk about a protest that happened in the early hours this morning of a commission vote for a data center in Box Elder County. That's next here on KVN News for the People.
Box Elder County. Got a junk car? Here's where it goes now. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan is stepping up, serving Brigham City, Tremont, Willard, Corinne, Garland, and across northern Utah and southern Idaho. They pay top dollar for vehicles and scrap metal, and they'll haul it away for you. Fast, easy, and you get paid. Take the quick drive to Valley View Highway or just make the call, 787-1204. That's 787-1204. DD Auto and Salvage, northern Utah and southern Idaho's go-to for junk car cash.
Calling all golfers. Now that the golf season is here, come experience Birch Creek and our summer golf leagues. Every Monday and or Tuesday is Couples League. Men's League is any time of the day, Monday through Thursday. Ladies League is Wednesday or Thursday. Call Birch Creek today for information regarding our Summer Couples League, Men's and Ladies League. That's Birch Creek Golf Course in Smithfield.
Speaking of the conventions, great question from a listener here, and the answer is yes. Listener wants to know if this means that we'll be seeing more candidate events, town halls, meet and greet events, things like that. Yes. In fact, this is why I like primaries. This is why I'm one of the biggest defenders of, despite the fact that I'm a fan of caucus systems, because I think they do kind of, nobody talks about this, but the caucus system actually helps a party kind of define who it is as well. And so when people defend the caucus system saying, well, people reach a little bit and saying, these delegates are the most informed. Well, I don't know. I've been a delegate. I've met a lot of delegates. I don't know if that's generalization there that I'm comfortable with. Sometimes delegates are just the most rabid, right? And the most engaged. And like me, without a hobby. So they follow politics like normal people follow sports. That doesn't necessarily mean most informed about the candidates, right? So weak defense. But a strong defense of the caucus system, I think, is that it helps a party define who it is heading into an election year. And so I like the caucus system. Where I'm a defender of the dual route, the second route, signature gathering outside of the caucus system, to get on the ballot as a candidate for any of the qualified political parties here in Utah. Senate Bill 54, as it's known, that was the compromise that created that dual route after the Count My Vote initiative looked to be successful and was going to do away with the caucus system entirely. State lawmakers said, whoa, what if we compromised? And you shut your ballot initiative down, we'll pass a bill that does what you want and keeps the caucus system. I think it kind of landed in a perfect spot. One of the reasons I'm a defender of this is that throughout the weeks leading up to the caucus from caucus night to convention, candidates are only campaigning to a few thousand delegates. They join us here on the radio, and we appreciate that time, but their focus is on a few thousand delegates. During a primary, their focus becomes every registered voter in the district. Much better scenario. So, yes, to those who asked, a couple of people asking during the break there, expect to see some candidate events. We'll invite them here on the show at least a couple of times between now and the end of June. And you're always welcome to send questions in if you'd like us to ask something specific when we have them on. kvnuftp@gmail.com or call during the show, 753-5868. But no dates to announce on that. But, yes, we will be having them, both candidates for Congress here in District 1 on the show. And we will see a slew of candidate events that are more geared towards the general public because it's a primary instead of a convention race. So, again, no dates have been announced on this, but I guarantee you'll see town halls. I guarantee you might even see a couple of debates set up. I know I shouldn't speak for Natalie and the Cache County GOP chair because she's already kind of bent over backwards to get debates happening in this the local races. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's organized somehow through the state party or otherwise some sort of candidate debate. And if there is, we'll try our best to make sure we get audio of that and get you out to it with announcements. So. Happy to field those questions. It's always encouraging to me that I'm not the only one paying attention to this because, everyone says this every time, the most important election ever until it starts to become just white noise. You just tune that message out. But locally, especially, it is a pretty key time. So I hope people are engaging. All right. On the other side, as I mentioned early this morning in Box Elder County, the county commission met to take a pretty routine vote. This was just a vote to move ahead on a project. Protesters showed up. About 80 residents of Box Elder County showed up at the county commission meeting this morning with signs in opposition to a vote that they said is lacking in transparency and an effort to quietly fast-track the construction of a data center with some pretty impressive tax breaks for the company that would build and profit off of the center. Residents are not happy. How they managed to organize this on short notice and what they had to say today at this meeting in Box Elder right after this. Look at the news with KVNU's Will Feelright.
Well, thank you, Jason. Utah State University celebrating a historic milestone last week with the opening of its Monument Valley Education Building. Now, it's the university's first permanent facility located on tribal lands. Now, the 10,000-square-foot state-of-the-art building is designed to serve the Navajo Nation. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson attended last Wednesday's ribbon cutting and noted that the facility is believed to be the first higher education building of its kind on Utah tribal lands. Now, Henderson emphasized that the campus has opened doors for students in remote areas and helps them to be able to pursue economic success. Now, strategically located next to Monument Valley High School, the facility will feature nursing labs, career and technical education spaces, and distance learning technology. Now, it'll also host small business development and adult education programs. Now, the project, which is a partnership between USU and the Navajo Nation, helps to strengthen the university's presence in southeastern Utah. Of course, it is finals week for the students up on campus as graduation coming up this Friday. Well, in other news, the family of a 42-year-old woman who was killed in an apparent murder-suicide earlier this month are now speaking out to warn others about the subtle warning signs of domestic violence. Police found Linda Zerpa dead of blunt force trauma inside her Harriman home back on April 17th. Investigators believe that her estranged husband, 55-year-old Manuel Ricardo Ramirez Perez, killed her before taking his own life. Now, authorities had no prior reports of domestic violence between the couple. Relatives have said that the pair co-parented their 11-year-old son for 2 years until recently when Zerpa had entered a new relationship. Now, her niece, Andrea Navia, had noted a sudden shift in Ramirez Perez's behavior, including emotional manipulation and verbal abuse. Now, Navia hopes that sharing Zerpa's story will highlight how abuse can escalate without obvious physical warnings. Now, originally from Venezuela, Zerpa was an esthetician who had provided free spa services to cancer patients. Now, her family is now raising funds to help support her son. And finally, a 30-year-old Salt Lake City man is facing multiple felony charges, including aggravated kidnapping, after allegedly holding his partner captive and repeatedly assaulting her over several weeks. Kenny Marcel Moma was charged on Saturday after the victim had escaped and alerted the Salt Lake City Police Department. Now, according to court documents, the woman reported that Moma had strangled her more than 20 times, most recently using a chokehold that had restricted her breathing. Now, the victim told investigators that the suspect had thwarted multiple escape attempts, once pulling her back inside as she tried to flee through an open window. Now, police noted that she had visible neck and facial injuries alongside severe symptoms consistent with strangulation. Now, during his arrest, officers say they also found fentanyl pills in his possession. Well, clouds continuing through the rest of the afternoon as temperatures have been in the low 50s today. Tonight will drop into the mid-30s, and then tomorrow we'll see some clouds again. A little bit more sunshine, though. Temperatures back up around 53 for our high. We do still have a chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms. That's going to linger through Thursday, but eventually the clouds will clear out by Friday and Saturday. And weather this hour brought to you by Valley Recycling. If you missed last week's Earth Day celebration, well, you can still take in your medals and get cash on the spot at Valley Recycling. It's at 145 North, 10th West in Logan. And I'm Will Feelright. I'll have another check of local news coming up at 5:05.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. Felony charges announced today for Cole Allen, the 31-year-old accused of rushing a security checkpoint at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this weekend. The charges could put Allen, a teacher from California, behind bars for life. Meanwhile, at the White House, President Trump and the First Lady are meeting with the British royals, the first official state visit since Charles became king.
What they are in our constitutional British monarchy, are figureheads. He is the head of state. He is not a politician, and therefore he will not answer questions from journalists. He is here as a diplomat, really, and Britain really needs a diplomat right now because the diplomatic situation between the UK and the US are not good.
ABC's chief international correspondent James Longman. The UK has been resistant to helping the US war effort in Iran, where peace negotiations with the US appear to be at a standstill. Today's Iran's foreign minister met with Russia's Vladimir Putin. This is ABC News.
Did you know you can cut your Rocky Mountain power bill by 40 to 50% without a single solar panel? With the new time of use rates, power is 4.5 times more expensive in the evening, but cheap during the day. At Greenbox Solar, we install smart home batteries that charge up when electricity is cheap, then power your home during peak hours. Solar is totally optional and can be added in the future, but savings are guaranteed. Drop by Greenbox Solar's showroom in South Logan to see the hardware for yourself. Visit our website at poweredbygreenbox.com.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Good afternoon. This is Mitch Green with Adams Wealth Advisors. Stocks started the week in a split state. On one hand, investors expect AI-related profits to remain strong. On the other hand, fallout from peace negotiations over the weekend pushed Brent crude oil prices higher, solidly above the $105 per barrel mark. As a result, most sectors ended the day with mixed returns, including the technology sector, where a significant number of AI and AI-adjacent companies reside. The Nasdaq appears to be rewarding companies considered essential or high-end areas of the economy that are less impacted by demand reductions due to higher oil prices. Stock indices barely moved today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average declined 63 points to 49,168. The Nasdaq ended the day flat at 27,306, and the S&P 500 ticked up 0.12% to 7,174. Financials were the top performing sector with a 76 basis point gain. Consumer-related sectors, along with real estate, posted the largest losses. The U.S. Treasury market continued to reflect concerns about persistent inflation as the 5-year and 10-year benchmark rates climbed 3 basis points to 3.95% and 4.34%, respectively. With no meaningful economic data released today, attention turns to specific developments. Chinese regulators have decided to press Meta to unwind its $2 billion acquisition of AI startup Manus, which illegally moved to Singapore and completed the deal 4 months ago, a move set to test China's reach and highlight potential risks associated with China-related commerce. Tomorrow will offer a glimpse into demand for big-ticket items, with real estate and durable goods data scheduled for release. Most importantly, an interest rate decision will be announced. Rates are expected to maintain their position and remain largely unchanged, but Federal Reserve commentary and the dot plot will shape future expectations. Thank you for listening. This is Adams Wealth Advisors.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Hey there, we'll get you back to the music soon, but quick question. Does your home ever feel a little off? Like one room feels fine, but the next room is too hot or too cold. You might even feel a draft of air. Well, that's not supposed to happen. And that's where Cardall's insulation comes in. Cardall's uses high-performance injection foam insulation that fills in the cracks and gaps, so you have a home that feels more comfortable in every room. And spring is the perfect time to get it done, before that summer heat shows up and your AC starts working overtime. Call Cardall's Insulation at 755-5012. That's 755-5012.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Overflow crowd this morning. Some of them standing in the rain for up to an hour before the meeting began over in Box Elder County. This was a Box Elder County Commissioners meeting, and the commission chambers there, Salt Lake Tribune reports some 80-so people showed up, packing the commission chamber this morning, and even overflowing into the hallways outside. They had signs, they were loud, and they were angry. Some of the signs read, "Where's the research?" "People before profits," and "Say no to the data center." And that's what this is all about. Even some commission members expressed frustration over this whole process. So what's going on? There is a vote ahead of the county commission. By the way, the end result of this, just so you know, spoiler, they voted to postpone the vote to move ahead on this officially. And instead, on May 4th, they're going to have a second meeting after the public, said this hasn't been a transparent process at all. They're going to have a second meeting on May 4th at the fairgrounds, actually, to accommodate. They're going to do the Fine Arts Building there at the Box Elder County Fairgrounds to accommodate the large crowd they're anticipating. That'll be, for Box Elder residents, that'll be Monday, May 4th at 4 p.m. So what's this all about? A data center, obviously, but Commissioner Lee Perry said during the meeting that the commission first learned about this data center project through rumors, and that was during this most recent legislative session. And this is coming at them, he said, through the state's Military Installation Development Authority, MEDA, as it's referred to. And they said that they felt a bit rushed, like they were being rushed by the legislature in this as well. Commission Chair Tyler Vincent said, "The thing that's so frustrating for us, for commissioners, is all of a sudden we're brought this in the last hour and being told to hurry." Well, the public obviously shares their sentiments. And Vincent, chair of the commission, said the county has actually brought in an outside legal team over this. And he didn't know. People asked how much that was going to cost taxpayers. He didn't know the answer to that this morning. But the public's demanding transparency on this on one hand, and demanding the county commissioners don't move ahead with this on the other one. Representing MEDA, the project area director, Hillary Venable, told the crowd this morning that they want full transparency on this. This is one of the accusations from the public this morning, is that the transparency on this hasn't existed. No one knows the details or what kind of tax breaks the legislature is promising here to just kind of shove this data center into Box Elder County. Residents also wanted to know, where the science and calculations were to show there was enough water for this in the county, that it was something that was actually going to create any jobs outside of the original construction. No one could answer that. And, so there was a pretty big crowd on hand at this, including some Logan residents, actually. And the data on this is not pretty. One, that these jobs are probably not going to be very high paying. That was brought up by the crowd today, saying you're selling this as a job maker, but these are not these are jobs for college kids that are going to be created, and that's not what we should be focusing on necessarily. The county was hosting this shortened session without public comment this morning. That also angered the crowd. In the county commission's defense, I doubt they expected 80 residents to show up on a Monday morning in the rain to talk about a data center vote, but they were wrong. And at the heart of all this public opposition, really, it's coming down to the tax breaks. Now, these were written out by the legislature. So, what I'm saying there. This is I agree with the commission members. This is kind of being forced on them by the legislature. But commissioners said at a Wednesday meeting a few weeks ago that they'd first heard of this proposal, again, only through rumors a few weeks before the legislative session ended, that this was going to be coming their way. And head developer of the project is O'Leary Digital. If that sounds familiar, that's because it's owned by Kevin O'Leary. This is a Canadian billionaire and one of the investors on the reality show Shark Tank, if you've ever watched that. He goes by the nickname Mr. Wonderful. Doesn't that make you want to be his best friend? O'Leary has made, I don't know if that's a self-professed, he was also he co-starred in Marty Supreme. If you saw that movie, you can see O'Leary in that. But anyway, he's the guy behind this, and the MIDA, the state organization, can offer tax incentives to developers to build a project in a certain area, and boy, have they ever. So here's a list. I reached out to some Box Elder County residents and, that were, a part of this, and said, what are the tax incentives that you're officially opposing here, that you are upset about? And here's a list, basically. I confirmed this with MIDA, and it is also confirmed by the Salt Lake Tribune's own reporting today. So MIDA usually imposes a 6% energy use tax on any developments it backs, and that 6% would go back into the state or the county. But on this one, the board has set it at 0.5%. So a 5.5% reduction in tax that would normally be 6%, not going back to the county or the state. Just here you go. Thanks for building here. And again, remember that the quality of jobs was an issue this morning as well. People saying, you're saying this is going to create thousands of jobs, but are these jobs someone could actually support a family on? And the data so far suggests no. This is more of a college student type job. But the problem is you don't have enough college students in Box Elder County to fill those jobs. So that means people who are raising families trying to make money with these jobs. That was the argument made by residents today, at least. Additional tax cuts slipped into this deal. Instead of standard certificate of occupancy, which normally triggers, traditional property taxes, business property taxes, the project will skirt those using a, quote, letter of completion. And that sets a flat 1.2% tax on the site's value alone. And then from there, the tax is further reduced. Believe it or not, the developer is credited back enough to bring the tax in line with Box Elder County's normal property tax rate, which is 0.926%. And of that already greatly reduced tax revenue, the deal, MIDA is pushing on Box Elder County here, then gives 80% of all revenue collected in that structure back to the investors, O'Leary Digital. Not the state, not the county, not any of the cities in Box Elder County. 80% of the revenue collected ends up back in the hands of the developers themselves, who are also going to be profiting off the data center once it's constructed. So I can understand why residents are not thrilled about this deal. And on top of that, I'm not done with the tax breaks. Personal property taxes will also be rebated for the data centers. This seems like a bad deal. Anyway, so the issue again, 80 people showing up at the commission meeting this morning, protesting this data center project that the commission was going to vote to move ahead on. That vote has been postponed until they'll have another meeting May 4th with public comment this time. Today, public comment happened, but it was kind of forced on the commission. They hadn't planned on it, and they announced at first there would be no opportunity for public comment. Well, when you've got 80 people stuffed in your room, you don't really have a choice. Public comment started to happen. On May 4th at 4 p.m. at the Box Elder County Fine Arts Center, a larger building than the commission chambers, they're going to be having a public meeting where public comment will be accepted, and they're inviting all residents to come and ask their questions. So, for what it's worth, Salt Lake Tribune reached out to the Box Elder County Attorney's Office and said that a news release will be issued after the meeting today, and said that large decisions like this shouldn't be made without public input, and several residents echoed that. One resident actually saying there's obviously some serious pressure here to make sure that this happens, but there needs to be serious pressure to make sure that the county and its residents are going to be okay. because we're the ones who live here and call this place home. So, yeah, this is this is a pretty good deal for the developers who will then profit off the data center. Unless there are details yet to come out in this proposal, doesn't appear to be such a good deal for the residents of Box Elder County. So we'll see where this goes. Some photos from the meeting and more are shared by the Salt Lake Tribune today. I've linked to their coverage on our Facebook page. And again, reached out and talked to some of these folks myself. If you want to see the list of my notes from the tax cuts and the sweeteners, they call them, in this proposal that are really, really sweet for the developers, I've linked to those on the Facebook page as well. We'll be back with more of KVN News for the People right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Got metal? Turn it into cash fast. At Valley Recycling, we pay cash on the spot for aluminum, copper, steel, any metal you've got. Old appliances, scrap from a job site, cans you've collected. If it's metal, we're buying. No hassle, no waiting. Just pull up, drop off, and get cash. So clean up the garage, yard, barn, or shed and bring us your scrap metal. We're Valley Recycling at 145 North 10th West in Logan and valleyrecycling.com.
Have you pulled your spring sheets out of storage, and do they smell stale and need freshening up? How about your blankets and your quilts? Are things dingy from winter use? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It takes no time at all to freshen everything up with their 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers, and it costs a lot less than the dry cleaners, and free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, too. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
93% of Americans listen to radio every month, more than any other platform. And when it matters most, in the car, during commutes, on the way to shop, radio dominates, capturing over 80% of listening. Even younger audiences are tuned in, with nearly 90% of adults 18 to 34 listening regularly. And here's the bottom line. Radio delivers one of the highest returns on investment in advertising today. So if you want results, you want radio. At Cache Valley Media Group, let us introduce you to our real audience.
One quick story here before we wrap up Hour 1. In Hour 2, we'll talk about some frightening reporting on Cole Allen, the alleged would-be shooter of this event over the weekend, the White House Correspondents Association dinner. That is frightening because it details a man who was actually quite ordinary. And we'll talk about why people are reacting the way they are to that news. That's coming up in Hour 2. Before we get to that, though, a bit of controversy in USU student elections. This is something that many people just see come and go without, more than just a headline or two, but it is an important process because it does define a lot of what happens on campus and therefore a lot of what happens here in Cache Valley, from parking decisions to, where the traffic is during events. So this does matter to us as well. And unfortunately, some students are saying that the process was not fair. With the details for KVNU, here is Sarah Mitchell.
Utah State students are speaking out about the student body president election. Isaac Natsuve and Tavo Estrada claims the election was unfair, saying concurrent enrollment students participated. USUSA posted a statement on Instagram saying that 113 concurrent enrollment students voted. Natsuve and Estrada created a petition to demand a recount of the votes.
We wanted our student representatives to be selected in a process that was reflected in the values of fairness, integrity, and hard work.
Utah State University spokesperson sent an email to students earlier this week, stating in part, over the next few months, staff will partner with the USUSA student leaders to review this year's concerns and make needed updates. In the meantime, the election results as reported will stand for the upcoming academic year. I'm Sarah Mitchell with KVNU.
Thank you, Sarah. And one to keep an eye on, of course. It's done for now, but this is important because as the student elections play out, again, it does. This is a large part of our population for 9 months out of every year, and to have a lack of confidence in the students who will be speaking for the student body and important decisions that are made going forward. Again, everything from housing and parking decisions to decisions that greatly impact traffic here in Cache Valley, different times of day, 9 months out of the year. You got to know this is playing out on the up and up, at least, following their own rules. So keep an eye on this one. Full coverage of this at CacheValleyDaily.com. Coming up, some reporting that was done on Cole Allen, the alleged would-be assassin of the horrifying events, honestly, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend. A journalist dug into his background, his job resumes, and everything, and what it shows is actually more frightening than anything else. An extremely ordinary and boring man. So, what happened? Well, we'll talk about some of the reaction from here in the state in hour 2 here on